Hi, today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic. We're going to talk about a marketing part that you can go into. But before we go into that, let's just do a quick recap of the different roles that we've categorized into four that you can go into as someone that is into marketing. So the first is mid-level roles. For mid-level roles, you have paid media specialists, you have Google Ads specialists, you have paid social specialists, you have SEO specialists, you have social media strategists. The list is not exhaustive, but these are the main roles you can have for each of these categories. For the second category, you have the managerial and lead roles. For this category, you have growth marketing manager, or head of growth, you have product marketing manager, you have content marketing manager, you have performance marketing manager, you have life cycle marketing manager, you have digital marketing manager, you have marketing and sales lead, and you also have head of brand and communications. For VP, that's vice president and senior functional executive roles, you have VP growth, you have VP product marketing, you have VP lifecycle marketing, and you have VP brand and communications. Then at the very top, for senior enterprise and C-suite executive role, you have the CMO. The CMO is the chief marketing officer. So the chief marketing officer, just like the CEO, the COO, or the CFO, is the one that is in charge and takes responsibility for all marketing efforts for any brand and any industry. Having established that, we are going to discuss the very first role we mentioned under the mid-level category, which is paid media specialist. And we are going to establish who is paid media specialist is. We are going to also practically deep dive into what a paid media specialist does, and we are going to conclude with the KPIs you need to track as a paid media specialist. So who is a paid media specialist? A paid media specialist is a specialist who is really grounded and has hands-on experience in terms of running paid ad campaigns across different digital channels, depending on the objective of the brand and the industry. So, for instance, if you're a paid media specialist for a manufacturing brand, your role is slightly different from a paid media specialist for a fintech or an e-commerce brand. The reason is because for a manufacturing brand, the metrics are different. While a manufacturing brand will really be focused heavily, a lot of the efforts will still be focused on outdoor marketing because of the size of the organization and the fact that they have distribution channels that reach out to their retailers. Digital marketing efforts that a paid media specialist will focus on will really be focused on brand visibility, and the campaigns also will be focused on driving traffic to website, driving traffic to social media pages. But for a fintech and e-commerce brand, this role is very important and well sought after. The reason is because beyond visibility, beyond driving users and driving traffic, you are driving revenue. So that is why I mentioned that it varies for different industry, and that also now fine tunes the kind of channels you want to double down on in terms of your marketing efforts. So a paid media specialist leverages channels that are relevant to achieving the business goal and objective, and also make sure he or she takes charge of the marketing budget that he is given. Because when you are running paid ads, you are spending money on these different platforms. So you also need to take into consideration the effectiveness of your campaign. So typically, a paid media specialist will focus on any digital channel that brings revenue to the brand, such as Google Ads. The specialist needs to be good with Google Ads, needs to be good with paid social ads. So paid social ads is ads going on other social media platforms like Meta, like X, like TikTok, like LinkedIn. But like I established, it depends on the business model. If, for instance, is a fintech brand and their product offering is only to B2C customers, that is, their product is only relevant to individual customers, not businesses, then you want to double down on channels like Google, running Google ads, running Meta ads, and running TikTok ads, right? These are where you find individual users to really help you get the needed user acquisition that you're looking for from your paid media efforts. The reason why you focus on these three channels, and you can also consider X ads. But for LinkedIn is primarily a B2B platform where you can connect with decision makers who are able to interact with your ads and are able to, reach out to you, and you take it up from there. So it's not just a role where you know how to run ads on these different platforms, but you need to understand business, the business side of it. You need to understand the industry you are in. You need to understand the effects all of your marketing efforts has on overall brand profitability and revenue generation. So that is what a paid media specialist does. So again, why the work of a paid media specialist is important is because we are in a digital age where even if it's a manufacturing brand, if it's a procurement agency, everybody has some form of digital presence. So, but the overall aim is different for different brands, like I established. For some brands, it's just for visibility. For other brands, it's really tied to revenue. But overall, irrespective of the industry you find yourself as a paid media specialist, these are the KPIs that you should track. For some brands you will work with, they might not necessarily know the best KPIs for them, but you as a professional needs to tell them these are the important KPIs to track. So the KPIs you should track your cost per click, you should track your cost per acquisition, you should track your cost per install, you should also track your return on ad spend. These are very core metrics to track, and some of these metrics are industry specific. So for instance, you want to track for cost per click, you want to track for cost per acquisition, you want to track for return on ad spend, ROAS, for any industry you are working for. But cost per install is a metric specifically mostly for brands that have an app, because you are tracking for how much you are spending to have a user install your app, a new user install your app. So if the brand does not have any application, any mobile application or web application, then there's no need tracking for cost per install. So that is why I mentioned that the metric, one of them is industry specific. So if you're in a situation where you are working for a brand that is not a fintech, maybe like an e-commerce brand, you don't need to track for cost per install, right? Because there's nothing to install. Most e-commerce brands, they just have their shop on a web application, not a mobile application. So these are some of the things that a paid media specialist needs to take into consideration in terms of the kind of KPIs to look out for, and also these KPIs help him to see what is working and what is not working. A big part of a paid media specialist's job is planning and launching of paid ad campaigns, and of course following through to optimize these campaigns. So a paid media specialist goes through the entire process, the process where creatives are being produced, like you have images, videos for the campaigns. All of those creative assets needs to be reviewed by a paid media specialist, because he knows from a marketing perspective the kind of action, the kind of hook, the kind of call to action text that he wants in these creatives. So he needs to really direct the entire process and make corrections to those creatives. Then also the copies that will go into it, so the captions and all of that will go into the ad, he also needs to oversee that. And of course the technical part where you set the campaign up on the different ads manager, whether it's Google Ads, Meta Ads, TikTok Ads, Ads Manager, LinkedIn Ads Manager. You want to be able to set that up properly, launch, and also track that is launched properly. Once it has been launched, you won't have more work to do, because now you started spending money. You need to make sure that every penny counts, and that is where optimization comes in, where you consciously look at your campaigns every day. You track the metrics, what is working, what is not working. You make adjustments. You also A/B test different creatives, different copies, and if you want to, you can also A/B test even different landing pages, just to see which is resonating with users better, and you keep iterating and adopting the better version as you go. So that's a big part of the work. It might seem simple, but it's a big part of the work, because there are a lot that goes into it. Sometimes in the middle of your campaign, the platform can have like an upgrade, or what happened recently with X Ads Manager, where they did a platform overhaul. They changed their UI, and they actually sent a notification that they are going to do an upgrade. So you can see these are some of the things that a paid media specialist we have to intervene. So in that kind of situation, a paid media specialist will literally look at, okay, when is this upgrade going to happen? Pause all the ad campaigns that are currently running on X, because it was an X upgrade, and allow that period to elapse for the upgrade before starting the campaigns again. Mind you, for people that experienced that, including myself, it was not really an easy job, because when they did the upgrade, you could no longer just just start up your campaigns that you post to start running, because they changed the UI, and that meant building all of those campaigns from scratch again. So you can see there's a lot of work, there's a lot of attention to details that working as a paid media specialist comes with. And mind you, you are spending money every second, because your ad is running and you are running on budget. So with that, you need to really monitor your campaigns and optimize them as you go, so you're able to get the best value for every penny, every dollar, every naira you spend, every CD, every rand you spend on your marketing campaigns. So in the next video, we're going to deep dive into who is a Google Ads specialist and what a Google Ads specialist does. For now, do have a great day, and bye.